cider.
Literally, it used to be the most widely consumed beverage in this country.
Welcome back to the Happy Hour, guys. We are here in Trumansburg, New York, on the shores of Lake Cayuga, and we are at Bellwether Hard Cider. First ever Happy Hour Guys visit to a cidery. We're pretty excited about it. And a lot of people, again, think cider is just cider.
Yeah.
And that's not true. I'm here with, introduce yourself.
My name is Caitlin Barton. This is my family's business, Bellwether Hard Cider. My parents are the owners. My dad, Bill, is the cider maker. He also happens to be out raking the lawn right now. Small family business.
It's very glamorous.
Yeah.
And how many different varieties of cider do you make?
Right now on the menu we have 8, and then we have 2 that are sold out. We're at like 10 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll probably be adding at least 1 more this year. We're sort of in this odd world where like we are a member of the wine trail here, and we're in the middle of the Finger Lakes wine region, but we're not really a wine. Contrary
to popular belief, Johnny Appleseed was not just planting apples to grow apple trees and apples. He actually had an ulterior motive, which was to help stimulate the manufacture and consumption of apple cider, because he believed that it had serious health benefits for the people. It was also one of the most popular drinks at the time. So he got his apple seeds for free often from cideries because they wanted to encourage him to encourage them. But we do sort of like straddle the wine world and the beer world. So we're actually the one product in New York State where you can sell it in a grocery store, like the beer, or you can sell it in a wine and liquor store. I hadn't thought of that. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to know where to fit in because we're not beer and we're not wine. And a lot of people still actually don't even really know what cider is. Absolutely everything we use is locally grown. It all comes from typically within about 30 miles of here. The apples are harvested wherever we have the apples grown. Typically they will press them for us. We pump the juice into the tanks. The fermentation is typically 3 or 4 weeks. If in the winter it's colder back here, so it goes a little slower. Right now this is cranking pretty good, but you definitely want to keep it fairly chilly. You want a slower fermentation. You tend to have more control over the flavors you get. You don't develop those like off flavors with a slower fermentation. And after we finish the fermentation is when we do a lot of blending. So we kind of like see how it's come out. Do we need to like blend back in some fresh juice? Do we want to blend it with another variety? That's also when we would go ahead and like add that cherry juice or the blackcurrant juice. That's one of the great things about cider is that they're not quite as heavy as wine, so you can drink them all. We've sort of been able to ride the tails of the craft beer movement a lot too, and we see like a lot of people that are really into craft beers love cider as well. And you guys do something which I think is nice. You sort of pair it up with food. Like suggestions I've noticed on your tasting menu. We'll get to that in a few minutes. We're gonna get to taste it. Cider is super food friendly. I mean, it pairs amazingly with so many things. It's a great summertime drink. But then you also, I mean, it's a great winter drink too, because mulled cider, it really is a year-round. It really is. Safety first. So this over here, contrary to what it looks like, is not a medieval torture instrument. No.
So one thing we walked away with, besides the wonderful taste of cider, was the fact that there is a ridiculous variety of ciders out there. That is our Lord Scudamore. This is actually champagne-style cider, and this is made using 100% Northern Spy apple, which is a really nice old New York State native baking apple, kind of a tart, crisp variety. And this is made in the traditional method champenoise. We do 1 fermentation in the tank, and then it gets a secondary fermentation right in the bottle, so it's naturally sparkling.
I bet when you started watching this on ciders, you didn't think you'd be hearing things like method champenoise, did you?
Now, Lord Scudamore was one of our favorites, but Bellwether has quite the variety, and they are adding to it all the time.
Heritage. This is actually the only still cider that we have at the moment. Still just meaning no bubbles. King Baldwin, Cherry Street, Black Magic.
So hard cider, like Bellwether, is following the same trajectory right now that craft beer is. Basically, its profile has gone crazy even in just the last year. And here's another cool thing.
Bellwether is very, very animal friendly.
The Bellwether folks do a lot of charitable work with local animal shelters. Oh yeah, you heard me right.
It's a dog's life.
So here's what they prove at Bellwether over and over again. The apple? It's got a lot to offer.
This has been a lot of fun. I think you should have your own show because you're fantastic on camera. But thank you so much. I've learned a lot about cider today, and I hope that means that you've learned a lot about cider today, and I hope that means that you're going to go out and try some for yourself. And if you have the opportunity, try to make it Bellwether.
Definitely.
Thanks. Cheers. Welcome back to the Happy Hour, guys. We are in the middle of a Finger Lakes traffic jam.